And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we're going to do a quick recap of all of the NBA games that took place over the weekend. And we're going to dive right in because I know this segment is going to be long. So the Lakers, they ended up losing to the Hawks in a very disappointing way. Trae Young ended up hitting a game-winning three-pointer because Gabe Vincent forgot how to play defense. And basically left Trae Young open to hit the three. I mean, when you're leaving Trae Young open at the final minutes of a game, I understand he's a very inefficient shooter at times. You can't leave him open in the game. You can't leave him open to end the game. But in this matchup between the Lakers, Trae Young played ridiculously well. He ended with 31 points and 20 assists. That is a fantastic stat line. LeBron also had a fantastic stat line with 39, 11, and 10, but of course ended up losing. Anthony Davis ended with 38, 10, and 8, but of course they ended up losing because D'Angelo Russell forgot how to play basketball, Cam Reddish can't score, and oh my God, it's just like, what is going on? Like, why can't the Lakers seem to win these games when the key players, LeBron played 43 minutes. This man is going to be 40 years old, and he played 43 minutes in this game, dropped a triple-double, and they still lost. Like, what more do the Lakers have to do? I mean, the Lakers are 12-11 right now, so less than ideal record and a little bit of a slump, but it's like, this roster is just bad. Like, it wasn't just Darvin Ham that was bad for the Lakers last season. This roster is incredibly bad. It is very, very bad. But let's go and continue on with the games. The Timberwolves, they ended up beating the Warriors 107-90 in the first matchup. Spoiler alert. Anthony Edwards ended with 30 points in this matchup. And then in the next game, the Magic, they played against the 76ers. It should be noted that Franz Wagner ended up getting an injury in the future, so I don't know how long he's going to be sidelined for, but so far the Eastern Conference, they've had a lot of injuries, and I mean, not saying that the Western Conference hasn't had a lot of injuries too, but Franz Wagner, like for the Magic, and like before that, Paolo Banchero, now I really don't think that the Magic are going to continue winning games without Franz Wagner, but I wouldn't be surprised if they prove me wrong again. But in this matchup, they ended up losing to the 76ers, 102-94. They lost to the Sixers without Joel Embiid, so very embarrassing on the Orlando Magic and in their part. They also had Franz Wagner in this game drop 30 points, and they still ended up losing. Now he knows what it feels like to be LeBron, but really this was just an embarrassing loss for the Magic. Next, the Celtics, they ended up beating the Bucks because of course they did. Despite Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard's efforts, Giannis ended with 30 points and 11 rebounds. Dame ended with 31 points. It just wasn't enough for the Celtics. It should also be noted, the Celtics on a per-game average shoot way more three-pointers than two-pointers, which is like, I don't think it's something we've seen since the 2018 Houston Rockets. The Spurs, they matched up against the Kings, and they got absolutely destroyed. The Kings ended up winning 140-113. They had 4 players in the starting lineup end the game with 20 points or more. Meanwhile, on the Spurs side, there was no Victor Wembanyama. So Champagne, forgive me if I messed up that last name, ended with 30 points, but they still ended up losing. So, without Victor, it's very difficult to play defense, and without Victor, it's also very difficult for the Spurs to score. The Pacers, they ended up winning 132 against the Bulls to 132-123. And let's look at the box scores. Halliburton ended with 23 points, but of course Trae Young outplayed him on this day because he's a better point guard. Zach LaVine ended with 32 points in this game, but he still ended up losing. When are they going to trade Zach? That's a really good question. When are they going to trade Zach LaVine? Next, the Utah Jazz, they ended up destroying the Portland Trailblazers. They ended up winning 141-99, which is very embarrassing. The Trailblazers are like a Heckle and Jide team. It's weird. One day they beat the Timberwolves back-to-back. Then the other day they end up losing to one of the worst teams in the NBA in a blowout. I mean, 141-99 is ridiculous. John Collins, he ended the game with 20 points. And on the Blazers side, Jeremy Grant ended with 19 points. Next, the games that happened on Saturday. The Detroit Pistons, they ended up beating the Knicks, surprisingly. They ended up winning 120 to 111 in this matchup. I'm going to speed through the rest of these because I want to be sure I have some time at the very end. The Mavericks, they ended up beating the Raptors 125 to 118. The Cavs, they ended up beating the Hornets 116 to 102. The Thunder ended up beating the Pelicans 119 to 109. The Nuggets surprisingly ended up losing to the Wizards 122 to 113, despite the fact that Jokic ended with 56 points, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists. He outscored the entirety of the starting lineup. He alone outscored the entirety of the starting lineup. It's like this man is the best player in the NBA right now, and there is zero question about it. In fact, let me actually go ahead and quickly do math because I want to say something that I think is rather crazy. Okay, so 36 is how much the rest of the starting lineup scored, and you add 36 to 21, and yes, so Jokic was 1 point off from outscoring his entire team. He ended with 56 points. The rest of the team ended with 57. That is ridiculous. That is incredible numbers for any player. And he lost. What more is he supposed to... Just give him the MVP now. What more is he supposed to do? And also, Jordan Poole in this game, he ended with 39 points. He did take 23s though, so like you should get 39 points if you're taking that many threes. But that's besides the point. The Grizzlies, they ended up shocking the Boston Celtics and beat them at home with Ja Morant dropping 32 points. And on the final game on Saturday, the Miami Heat, they ended up beating the Phoenix Suns. Again, another surprise. This is a Phoenix Suns team. I mean, they didn't have Kevin Durant, so maybe not that surprising. Jimmy Butler played well, 24 points. Bam Adebayo played really well, 25 points. But again, a lot of surprising losses, especially that loss against the Wizards between the Denver Nuggets. The Bucks, they ended up beating the Nets because of course they did. I mean, Giannis Antetokounmpo is just that guy. Ended with 34 points and 11 rebounds. I believe he's averaging around 28 points per game and shooting 60% from the field. Actually, no. He's averaging 32 points per game. I am sorry, Giannis. I was not familiar with your game. 32 points per game and shooting 60% from the field. Giannis is the second best basketball player in the NBA right now, without a doubt. And let's see. Warriors, they ended up beating the Timberwolves in the second time they matched up. Obviously, they made some adjustments going into this game, and they really worked. Now, there was no LeBron between the Lakers and the Blazers, yet the Lakers still ended up winning. This was the first game that LeBron ended up missing in this season. Anthony Davis ended with 30 points and 11 rebounds, and D'Angelo Russell, for some reason, remembered how to play basketball, ended with 28 points and 14 assists. Why can't he do this when LeBron is playing? Nobody knows. Next, the 76ers, they ended up beating the Chicago Bulls in this matchup. Tyrese Maxey ended with a triple-double, 25, 14, and 11. Paul George ended with 12. Joel Embiid ended with 31 and 12. And Zach LaVine ended with 30 and still ended up losing. The Hornets, they ended up beating the Pacers. A little bit shocking considering how the Hornets did not have LaMelo Ball. Brandon Miller had 26 points in this matchup, but again, very embarrassing for the Pacers to lose to the Hornets in this one. Next, the Cavs, they ended up losing to the Heat. Another surprising loss over this weekend. Heat won 122 to 113. And the Nuggets, they ended up destroying the Hawks, taking revenge. 141 to 111, or taking their anger out, I should say, after losing to the Wizards. And the Suns, they ended up losing to the Magic 115 to 110. I believe this was the game where Franz Wagner ended up getting injured. Or they might have been the previous game because he did not play in this game at all. Next, the Spurs, they ended up beating the Pelicans 121 to 116. There was Victor Wembanyama played in this one, 25 points in 26 minutes. I mean, he's just phenomenal. Grizzlies, they ended up beating the Wizards 140 to 112. Houston, they ended up beating the Clippers 117 to 106. And the Kings, they ended up destroying the Jazz 141 to 97. And then yesterday, only one game was played. The Knicks, they ended up beating the Raptors 113-108, thanks to Karl Anthony Towns hitting the dagger against them. So those are all the games that happened over the weekend in the NBA. And next, in the fourth segment, we're going to go and talk about what this NBA season has proven so far. I've already done 2 parts on this, so this is going to be a third part. We're going to do that right after this short break, so be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.